Let's do it. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the AYANEO Pocket EVO versus the brand new prototype of the AYN Odin 2 Portal. This is really exciting, and we're finally going to put them head to head and see which one might be worth your hard-earned dollars. Because now we're at a new tier of performance, in screen quality, in battery life. We're really at that next gen level of Android handhelds. All right, I think we got a retro stew going. Let's hop in. So starting things out here, let's take a look at the spec differences. So these are already just very samey. Even Bob Wolf commented on that this week. They both have all glass fronts. They both have the exact same screen as I understand it, 7-inch, high refresh rate, OLED displays. And by the way, in my Evo video, I said just OLED for the Evo, but it turns out they're both OLED, the same screen. They just market them a little bit differently. Now, the OLED that is in the Odin is clocked up to 120 hertz, and in the Evo, it goes up to 165 hertz. So I understand that it's a little bit overclocked screen there, but there are more graduated steps in the Evo, so you get a 60 hertz, a 90 hertz, 120 hertz, and 165 hertz with an automatic refresh rate change between those different rates. On the Odin 2, you have just the 60 hertz or 120 hertz, but they are developing ARR, the automatic refresh rates, on both of these. While it's already there in the Pocket Evo, they are planning to add it into the software for the Odin 2. And while for your retro games, 60 hertz is more than enough, you don't need to go above that. If you're going to play Android games and for streaming, you can really take advantage of those higher rates. I think 120 hertz is the sweet spot here. I don't think we need to go up to 165, but it's nice that you at least have the option on the Evo. As far as brightness, they both are around 800 nits brightness. Both support HDR, 315 ppi, 1920 by 1080 display screens, 16 by 9. Both having a Qualcomm Snapdragon. In the Odin, you get the 8.3 Gen 2. In the Evo, you get the G3X Gen 2. These are the same processor, except for the G3X Gen 2 is really targeted towards gaming. But funny enough, even though it's overclocked a bit, and so you get a speed boost. And by the way, I couldn't find like any solid benchmarks between these two specific chips. And so what I'm going to do is mail this to my friend Rob, the Retro Tech Dad, after this video, so that he can give you all some deep dive benchmarks. Today, we're going to be again looking at just the differences between these two handhelds. But another downside of the G3X Gen 2 is compatibility. And so I noticed in my Pocket Evo video, which I will link below, there are some Android games that just don't work. They're not compatible yet, like Wreckfest, Balatro, as well as a few others just wouldn't even install. They're not compatible with the chipset, and you don't have that issue on the 8 Gen 2, which is so widely compatible and more mature that even though you get on paper a better performance boost from that G3X Gen 2, in reality, I would still pick the regular old Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 because you're going to get more compatibility. And in my real world testing, I didn't notice performance differences between these two chipsets. I just, in real world use, I'm not really seeing it. It's also interesting how both companies call out certain things about their devices but leave out other details, leaving a little bit up to the imagination. So on the Pocket Evo, we see up to 15 watts for performance, while we're not seeing that called out specifically by AYN here on the right. For storage and memory, both offer 8 gig plus 128 gigs internal storage. Both offer a 12 gigabyte RAM option, while you do get 256 gigabyte internal there on the Evo. At that level, you're going to get 512 on the Odin. And then both offer a 16 gigabyte RAM option. The Evo combines that with 512 gigabytes internal and the Odin at 1 terabyte internal. But the Evo offers a variant as well that offers 1 terabyte. And then the Evo goes above that to offer their really high-end model, Retro Evo powered, at 24 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage, which is just, that is just nuts. And so both have active cooling. And I've had this for about a week, by the way. So in my testing in the last week, I've noticed that the Evo tends to run a little cooler, I think because the body's a little bit bigger. And again, take into account, the Portal here is a CNC prototype model. The buttons aren't finished on this. Nothing about the hardware is 100% other than the ergonomics, the screen, battery, and the input-output, just what the body is. One thing that's interesting to note is that AYN does call out their charging speed at 27 watts specifically, while AYANEO does not. They say that it's just a PD fast charging solution. I assume the same with the Portal. Battery life's interesting. So on the Odin, you get an 8,000 milliamp hour battery, which is incredible. And then on the EVO, you get an 8,600 milliamp hour. So both of these are already just bonkers, but you're going to have a little bit heavier battery and a little bit bigger shell there on the EVO versus the Portal, which is a little more compact, and we'll talk about that. But I think the battery weight is spread out really nicely. Here's another difference. Wi-Fi is called out specifically on the Odin Wi-Fi 7 here, and Bluetooth 5.3, that's the latest Bluetooth standard. And then on the EVO, you're seeing they don't call out specifically what the Wi-Fi is, other than saying it's high-speed Wi-Fi, also the same Bluetooth 5.3, which is great. But that leads me to believe that this is a little bit older gen Wi-Fi. I couldn't find specifically actually what this was. I have to assume Wi-Fi 6E versus Wi-Fi 7 in the EVO, and so you are 30 gigabits per second is what they claim as theoretical limit versus 46 in the Portal. How fast can we download something? We're going to install the same game at the same time. Go. And it's a race, folks, and we have the Portal already at 22% with the EVO at 13. Portal is going, it's finishing. Which one will win? The Portal's in the lead. Oh, and the EVO is now, as it's finishing its download, processing faster, however. And the EVO might overall win. The EVO has won. So it looked like we were getting a faster speed downloading from the Portal, but it was able to finish its process faster on the EVO. So both have their own proprietary system software running Android 13. Now, both of these handhelds are available here on Indiegogo currently. Another big difference, of course, is the price. Odin 2 Portal starts at $329 for their base model with 8 plus 128, and the EVO starts at $393 for their 8 plus 128. One other physical difference, though, is you have front-firing speakers in the Odin 2 Portal, and you have down-firing in the EVO. I would have liked to have seen front-firing in the EVO, but the sound quality, as I was showing in my video, is pretty good. On the Portal, though, you get direct sound going straight at you. So yeah, I like the speakers better. Well, they're a little muffled, though, on the EVO, but I do like the fullness and the feeling of them. This, not tinny by any means, but a little bit less bass, but you do get that clarity of having them front firing. So for the high end, you can spend all the way up to $500 for the Odin 2 Portal Max. Pro goes for $399. Pocket Evo caps out at $670, which gets you that Retro Evo plus 24 gigabytes of RAM, which you really don't need, even with a Winlator right now. So it's a little bit of overkill, but if you want the nicest, the best, the biggest, yeah. Weight differences are something else to consider. So you do have 478 grams here on the Evo versus on the Portal, you have 430. A little bit more heavy on the EVO. Size difference, yeah, a little bit smaller on the Portal, thinner as well. But those are the main things. They both have micro SD card slots. They both have video out, although you get called out specifically by AYN, who's saying, hey, it's a DisplayPort, 4K at 60. Well, as on the EVO, they don't call out specifically what you're going to get if you do video out. But as far as the memory goes, on the EVO, they call out you get UFS 4.0, and memory you get LPDDR5X at 8533 megahertz. Triggers, 250 hertz return rate apparently. Hall triggers, you get Hall sticks in both devices, by the way. Nice big sticks here on the EVO versus a little bit smaller on the Odin 2 Portal. They both have gyroscope. They both have rumble motors. On the EVO, they say that it's a 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port at 10 gigabits per second. On the EVO, you also get a fingerprint reader, which is nice. Okay, all right, enough of all that. Let's get hands-on. So the Portal was left to me by a mysterious YouTuber. I don't know what his name is, but thank you, YouTuber. So my initial handling of the device actually was captured this week in Anaheim, California, while I was there with some other YouTubers looking at the MSI Claw 8. And just here's a quick look. Here's some footage. And the grip is actually really nice on this. I like this. It's more shallow, but I like the feel of the plastic on the CNC prototype model. And that D-pad. This is a pre-production D-pad. It's a little squeaky, actually. It's a little squeaky. The face buttons feel pretty good, but these are pre-production, so these are not the final face buttons or D-pad, right?
It's all CNC.
This is all squeaky.
D-pad is too loose. The face buttons are too tight.
Okay, all right. Those sticks feel good. Oh, the shoulders feel good. The weight balance is nice. I like that more than any other Odin's weight balance. And even the MSI staff themselves were fascinated by this. We were there to talk about the MSI Claw, but so many people in the room really just wanted to take a look.
Oh, that's
for me?
Yeah, which one feels better?
It's cool to see how
I'm doing the reviews.
these things, and that's what I
Review
think
by
what
MSI.
is most interesting is seeing like how far you can push it. That's what this seems here.
Yeah, try it, Rob.
For me personally,
Rob the Retro Tech Dad taking a look at the Portal.
Yeah, they complex words.
Me, I'm still a DS fans, you know.
Yeah.
that's
So
the big concern with the last
That colorway is awesome.
I haven't owned any like
the Ally was out
PS
so
Portable.
Check out Russ's videos if you want just a nice comprehensive overall look at the Portal. He made 2 videos about it. And we talked about it this week on the Retro Handhelds podcast. But now that I've actually had a week with this thing and I've been able to play it at night on the go. Do you like how this one looks or how this one looks? You like the Evo?
Yeah.
Which of these look better to you?
The white looks more stylish. The purple looks more comfortable.
Ah, all right. Time to go fast. All the coins. Oh, you're wondering what that is? That's a D-pad. The D-pad goes up, down, left, right. Do you like that D-pad? It's not finalized yet. Right off the bat, the ergonomics on the Evo are just, I mean, they're just better. They're just more comfortable. You're getting a thicker shell here and a little more heft, but it's really nicely balanced. You're feeling the weight in these grips more than along the center, which I always prefer. And then on the Evo, the weight is a little bit more distributed throughout. It just makes it not very heavy at all. And if you took a look at my my coverage on the Odin 2 Mini, that one just has a lot of concentrated weight, and it actually gives you the impression that it's a little heavier. The original Odin 2 as well, which has the same chip, all 3 of those have the exact same performance here with different screens. In the Odin 2 Mini, you get that mini LED, and in the Odin 2, you get that just very crisp IPS, a little bit smaller, 6-inch screens in the 5-inch screen in the Mini. But I found the weight on both of those just to be a little off for me, and I didn't love holding them. I did like the ergonomics better though on the original Odin, I can tell you already, versus the Portal here, but the weight is so far the best on the Portal, even though I know this is the heaviest one. You don't get much for ergonomic bump out on the back here. I know in Russ's video, his takeaway was, well, it's good ergonomics, but not great ergonomics. I would have to say it's a little bit better than I was sort of expecting. What this feels like to me is actually just a bigger version of the RP5, really. I mean, it's the same idea here. I mean, even down to the grills, it's just the design language is very similar. You are getting some M1 and M2 buttons there versus not on here. But I mean, the ergonomics, again, I mean, look, they're the same picture. So you do get the air intakes there that are similar all the way across, which I like to see. It's great for cooling. And then this blows out the top on the Portal and out sort of the top back for the RP5. But just very similar feelings. Although overall, I find the RP5 to be more comfortable because of just how it's a little bit smaller, and so you're able to grip it in a little bit different way. The only time when it starts to get uncomfortable for me is when I need to do too much, maybe FPS gaming with these sticks. But for a lot of Android gaming and for platforming, man, yeah, the RP5 is awesome. And this also has an AMOLED screen. And yeah, I love this GameCube colorway. This is a similar colorway here with this purple. And by the way, I like the purple the best of the 3 options, although I think the black is going to be best because the screen is going to just blend into that bezel. And we do have this glass front cover, which is reflective, but I really like the engineering on this. So it's straight across here, and then it starts to kind of taper off on the right there. And so what you have is this like kind of folded, I don't know how to say it. They call it like a 3D front, and I can see that. It starts to curve a little bit, which just feels really good. I mean, it feels nice. I thought that the glass might be annoying, but it's just so smooth. Like it's leaving a little bit of fingerprints because it's glass, but man, that feels very good. The glass front feels very, very good for what it is. And you have a nice matte shell here that's not leaving fingerprints. But I do think the black model, as long as the plastic on there is going to be like their other Odins, it's going to be pretty nice, and you're going to have this AMOLED screen just bleed straight into the body, and that might be the sleekest model. The same for the Evo, although the Evo, the black version, is more of that fingerprinty plastic, and so I don't even care. I'll take this one with bezels. On the Evo, yeah, you're going to get more comfort there as well. This has a glass front that feels good. It's kind of smudge resistant while not being completely smudge free. The same matte plastic idea here. This feels a little bit higher quality plastic. So you both have 800 nits of brightness here. The Evo, I'm basically able to get almost to nothing for brightness. And on the Portal, much the same. Although the Evo seems to automatically get it all the way dim and then it kind of kicks back up a little bit. You see that? So I can actually get just a little bit dimmer here on the Portal. One thing that I noticed here on the Portal that, again, could be because it's this prototype, but if I set it to, right now I have to specifically call out what refresh rate that I want. And so if you look at the software here, you can switch between 60 or 120. On 120, I noticed that we get not some screen flickering, but just when you touch the screen or move around, it's swapping between two different sort of pictures or backgrounds there. I don't know what's going on, but I found it pretty annoying. And I'm only going to show 120 when we're actually doing streaming and things that make use of that, because otherwise, while the motion is smooth, that flashing is kind of frustrating. So we'll go to 60 here. You do get your performance modes: standard, performance, and high performance. For benchmarking, we want to be in high performance, but I'm going to stick in performance otherwise. And for the fan, we do get smart, quiet, or sport. Here's how loud sport gets. So not too loud there for the fan, but you can just leave it in smart there. Let's just go straight to the max. It's not uncomfortably too loud. I mean, it's not a screeching or painful sound, but it definitely is very loud. We do get the Xbox style controller. We can switch between that or the Odin. You can do the same sorts of things here in the Evo. However you want to set up the controller, you can do here. So no big differences there. L2, R2 mode, you have analog or digital. Leave it in both, best of both worlds, much like with the Evo you can do. And here on the Portal in the software, you do get that extra dim option too, to go even dimmer, and I did not see that here in the Evo. Now, these both have LED lighting that you can configure to your liking. You know, it can be a nice touch. They actually both happen to be in pink right now. And again, we're not going to be super hardcore benchmarking the performance, but I will make sure to keep stats on the screen when we're doing our game tests. All right, let's do one benchmark though. Let's do the Wildlife Extreme. Put the Evo as well on its highest performance, called Max. Getting a little bit better here with the Evo. They're pretty close. So we are getting a 3933, 3933 on the Evo. We are getting a 3757. I mean, they are so close on the Portal. Average FPS 22.5 on the Portal versus 23.56 on the Evo versus an S24. We're also showing a better battery score on the Evo. Battery went from 7% to 6%. Battery on the Evo went from 23% to 23%, so not even a drop on the Evo. Temperature, we got 28 Celsius, whereas on the Portal we went from 29 Celsius to 31 Celsius, so a little bit hotter temps on the Portal. Frame rate went from 13 to 30 on the Evo, and on the Portal we went from 17 to 28. Okay. As far as front ends go, we have console launcher in here today. We have emulation station DE. Russ left this set up for me because he's a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you, Russ. The Wi-Fi is not the best in my studio, actually. I need to make improvements there, and so we're going to take a look in my living room at the streaming options. Now, I also want to show you all what 120 hertz looks like. I believe we're limited to 60 hertz right now on the Portal. But man, that 120 hertz is nice to have on here. 5 and 6 millisecond ping. I don't have stats on the screen here for the Xbox version, but this is very smooth. Like, this looks good and it feels good. I'm not seeing any latency or noticing latency. Oh, now come on. All right, let's talk about actual buttons and stuff like that. We're a little out of order today, that's okay. Let's take a look at the differences for ergonomics and see what these buttons sound like. So yeah, I can tell you here with the Evo, you can kind of look at my grip. Nice weight, comfortable. On the D-pad here, we have this mushy rubber membrane, very, very loose. So not super maybe accurate if you're into nice tight D-pads. So over here on the Portal, take a look at my grip there. Yeah. So not uncomfortable again, just not as comfortable as the Evo. But you do get a nice tight D-pad. If you're used to those Odin 2 D-pads, you know what I mean. They are a soft, quiet, clicky. And again, this is a prototype and not completed whatsoever. So this particular prototype has this sort of crunchy D-pad, which is uncharacteristic of AYN. But again, so we'll wait for the final. Moving over to the joysticks, these Hall sticks. So you have a nice pivot there on those joysticks. So these are little joysticks, but they can fit nubs and joystick caps, which is great. Well, these ones, I gotta make bigger caps. That's no good. And these are nice big Xbox style joysticks, zero joystick grind. Very, very comfortable. These, I almost prefer them to be a little bit bigger, but again, not finalized. And at least on this prototype, just a little bit of joystick grind. And that just means that as you're moving along the sides there, you feel kind of not scrape, but just grind a little bit against the shell, which is just like a sensory thing, really. It's not going to hurt anything, but just one of my things I like to check for. Whereas that's very smooth. And now since you get bigger joysticks, if you want absolutely zero grind whatsoever, these sticks are big enough to where you can put a small joystick protector, which is basically little tiny rubber bands that will go and make it an even smoother pivot around. And moving on over to the face buttons here. So you have smaller face buttons on the Evo. Satisfying, they feel good to press down, mushy rubber membrane. On the Odin here, a little bit quieter as you'll notice. But at least on this prototype, they don't feel very good yet. But I know on the other Odin models that these always feel just very nice to press down with enough travel and play to make them enjoyable. These ones are very stiff right now and very short. And so we'll see. We have a start and select, quiet clicky there. And these are pretty much silent buttons there. Down here, you get a home and a function and your speakers. And on here, you get your speakers firing down. As far as I/O, you get a USB-C below and your micro SD card slot, which with this, satisfying. Look at that. And you get a 3.5 headphone out. You don't get a 3.5 headphone out on the Evo, and I know some other videos out there are saying there's a 3.5 headphone out, but it is not present. Do you see it? It's not there. On the Portal, though, you do get a 3.5 out, which is great, in your USB-C. Not finalized micro SD card slot, but Russ let me know that this started popping off on him. And so yeah, that pops right out. There's your micro SD. Shouldn't do that in the final. And you do get M1 and M2, which currently these are functional, but they don't feel too great. But the positioning of them is fine. For shoulders up top, these mushy rubber membrane feel pretty good. I like how quiet they are. And then on the triggers, these are just like the RP5 triggers. In fact, you can kind of wiggle this and it'll start to pop off, much like you can on here. And I actually had that from the factory. Mine came out a little loose, and so you actually have to open it up to get it perfectly lined up and then push down to get this to go back into place. So I imagine the same here. This started to come off, and so I just had to carefully position it and get it down, but I don't want to open this or do anything that could harm it before it goes to Rob the Retro Tech Dad, so he might give us a teardown. But yeah, just be aware of that. As I understand it too, they've now added some more grit and some more tactile response on these buttons from community feedback, and so you should see actually an improved texture right there. These are very smooth right now, which are fine, but your fingers do start to slide off a bit, and this is also shorter. So compared to the Evo, where you also have quiet L1 and R1, which feel good, they're a little bit shorter there, but L2 and R2 are much longer and comfortable, more like an Xbox controller. And here's a look at the difference as far as width goes. So yeah, these feel very comfy, but as you start to get to the end of their travel, you feel a little bit of, I don't know what to say. They're mushy anyways, and they feel good. They feel good. This feels a little bit more controlled. You don't get as much travel, and they're a little bit louder. But I would say these might be a little more comfortable, at least for my hands. You do up top have power up, volume up and down, right here, volume up and down, and you have these extra function buttons right there and your fingerprint reader. And so I actually prefer playing on something like this with a 7-inch screen versus your 5.5-inch screen on the RP5. And I like having my 7-inch screen here as well in the PS Portal, which this is just, I love this thing for what it is. It just plays and streams my PlayStation games. But I even like using my phone still. So something like my phone with this GameSir G8 Plus and this bedazzled Thanos edition, look at that. Also can be really comfortable for streaming, and this has really nice performance with that 8 Gen 3 Snapdragon. And so as far as color richness and vibrancy and all that, mostly the colors between them look just so similar, again, since they're the same panels, that I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about the specific differences between these panels. All right, and now let's take a look at Winlator.
Careful with that.
Russ likes inverse controls. I'll still be his friend. Two-headed cow? Hey, sorry. I don't want to do this. God, that's a gorgeous screen. Of course we have the Bluey game. And finally, here's Emulation. Definitely notice on the Evo my thumb presses against the right joystick a bit. So I like the bigger buttons. I do like the bigger face buttons on the Portal. Yeah, I would say it's a little easier to play these sorts of platformers on the Portal. Your finger kind of rests in this groove right there, which is nice. I like that. My right thumb also presses this joystick just a little bit, so I have to be careful, but man, the bigger buttons are better. All right, let's wrap up. Well, what do you all think of the Portal and the Evo? Both of these are just two of the best options you can get for Android gaming now. The Portal isn't quite here yet, and so stay tuned for more content from Rob the Retro Tech Dad, and retail models, as soon as they get here, we'll take a look. They say they're shipping in December. We'll see if they meet that timeline there, but the Evo is available to back now. It's already showing up in hands right now. There is a price difference again, like we saw. You're starting at $329 here and about $393 on the Evo. So I hope this video helped you decide, which one, if you want to pay a little extra to get this, or if this meets your needs, if you want a 7-inch, or again, maybe you don't even want a 7-inch handheld to begin with, where an RP5 or similar could really meet your needs, or even just using your phone and skipping all these shenanigans, or getting a dedicated device. And don't forget, you can stream and you can even emulate Android games on Windows handhelds. And so the MSI Claw or the Steam Deck back there, they'll be able to handle a lot of your needs as well. When you're getting past the, $390, $400 price range, you really could look at a Windows handheld that might meet your needs. But you are getting a Snapdragon in here for the most efficiency and battery life. Playing your Android games and streaming is awesome. Can these replace something like a G Cloud if you have it? Yeah, probably. Both having faster Wi-Fi speeds. Not only that, but with the G Cloud, you're very limited in the performance you can get from Android and from Emulation, where these are just completely uncapped. But, and again, watch the video here, on the Evo, we're not able to play all of our Android games, which is such a bummer. And so all around, I think the best chipset is that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 that you're going to see in the whole Portal line. It doesn't just have to be the Portal. You can look at the Mini, you can look at the original. Both of those are awesome for their own reasons, although I didn't keep those two. The Odin 2 for the screen, the weight, and the thanks camera. Why are you always zooming in for emphasis? There was no need to zoom in there. And then with the Mini, I thought the weight was too concentrated and the smaller screen, and then it got pretty hot as well. And the Mini LED technology, wasn't my favorite. With the vignetting, well, with the Evo, now we're in this AMOLED territory and era here where everything is getting this. We're getting glass fronts this year from Retroid, from AYN, from AYANEO and all that. And so get used to the new glass front revolution. Very reflective for cameras and filming, but does it feel premium to you? Does that matter to you for premiumness? It really does. I could care one way or the other. In fact, I'd prefer to not have it really and just have a nice plastic front, but it's fine, and neither one of them are too fingerprinty on that glass, and the glass is super soft here on the AYN, like really soft. Yeah, and so it's just interesting. So there you have it. That was my comparison of these two bad boys and sort of my impressions on the Portal. I think this is going to be awesome, and I am definitely going to be getting one of these long term. I mean, I just can't wait to see how the finalized buttons are. If I were to review this as it stands today off this prototype, I would say the buttons aren't working for me. I don't love them, but everything else is really nice. The ergonomics are not my favorite on here. They definitely work, and again, they feel like the RP5, but at the end of the day, for me, I'm probably gonna go with the Evo if I'm playing around the house. But if I wanna leave the house, go on the go, I mean, this is just gonna be more compact, a little more lightweight, while giving you everything the same. Plus, you get more compatibility on here. You're gonna be able to play all of your Android games. Screens, both are gorgeous, both very similar. I don't care about 165 hertz, 120 is fine with me, and so to me, I don't see a benefit one or the other, one screen versus the other. As long as AYN can get that adjustable refresh rate switching into here. That's going to be important. But if you want 165 hertz and you want 60, 90, 120, 165, I mean, the Evo has got you covered there. They already have that built in. We got to look at handhelds for what they are today versus what they could be. And again, I know, once again, I'll keep saying it, that this isn't a finalized unit. We still have to take a look at what it is today. And as of today, I would go with the Evo as my choice. But stay tuned for my look at the finalized unit, where I'm sure be gushing about, oh my god, the buttons are great now, because we know that Odin, every time they come through, AYN comes through and makes a great product for these, and so I have faith in that, but I can't say for sure yet. For now, yeah, the Evo is my go-to. Comfortable, does everything, streams super good, as we saw, and in the Portal, they both stream really well. This is just a beast, especially with the higher refresh rate. 120 is a sweet spot. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. Which one do you like more? Which one are you backing? Are you backing either? Are you getting something else? I'd love to know. Is 7-inch just too big? Like, is this too big of a handheld? Neither one of them are pocketable, let's be honest here. But for comfort, a 7-inch I think is a nice idea. We used to go back and have 7 inches more in these handhelds, but now we're kind of going back to that. We saw how small we could go. Now we're getting how big can we go with the comfort and the OLED screens. It's so cool how far we've come, everybody. This is ridiculous. Again, they play everything. More to come, everybody. Stay tuned for Rob's video. All right, let's get out of here. Once again, I want to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay in the know for all of your favorite retro handhelds. And a special thanks to our channel members, patrons, and subs who make everything here possible for us. Perks with RH start for as little as $3 a month. Join us in our Discord to chat and play games, and join me on the podcast every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific. We are going to be diving into things. We're going to be chatting all about this. We have a big giveaway coming up that you can enter into. We have Handheld of the Year coming up, our Retro Game of the Year awards, a big giveaway that you can enter into. But until next time, this has been Stubbs with RH. Take care of those handhelds, everybody, and each other. Bye. All right. Okay. Back to other stuff.